Okay, let's get into this. We're looking at one of Egypt's absolute wonders today, the Karnak Temple Complex. Massive place in Luxor.
Just enormous, often called the world's largest open-air museum, and you can see why. It wasn't built quickly. Pharaohs kept adding to it for, well, centuries.
Stamping their mark on this incredibly important religious site.
Exactly. But we're focusing on a particular way to see it tonight, not during the day, but after dark.
Right, the Karnak Temple Sound and Light Show.
That's the one. We've looked at some material guides, visitor accounts, that sort of thing, to understand what this experience is actually like.
What does it offer? How does it try to, tell the story of this huge place?
And ultimately, is it something you should consider adding to your itinerary if you're visiting Luxor? That's what we want to figure out.
So let's set the scene first. Karnak itself. The sources describe it as, well, just staggering. One of the grandest building projects in ancient Egypt.
Oh, absolutely. Mammoth is a word that comes up. Some sources say it's the largest temple complex ever built anywhere. And what's key, based on what we've read, is how long it took. It wasn't one pharaoh's vision.
Yeah.
No, it spans from the Middle Kingdom right through to the Ptolemaic period. That's over 1,000 years, maybe closer to 2,000, depending on how you count the earliest shrines.
So ruler after ruler adding halls, pylons, statues.
Yes, contributing to the glory of the main god here, Amun-Ra, and his family, Mut and Khonsu. It became this central focus point.
And for most visitors, the area you generally get access to is the precinct of Amun-Re.
That's usually the main part, yeah. And even that section alone is vast. Think of it like a city built of temples and massive courtyards. It really shows the scale of religious and royal ambition over such a long time.
Okay, so you've got this ancient, incredibly complex site. Then, after sunset, they turn on the lights for this show. What's that initial experience like?
The whole point of the show is using modern tech lights, sound, to bring the history of ancient Thebes, and Karnak specifically, to life at night. Sources describe walking into the temple grounds after dark, with everything illuminated, as just awe-inspiring.
I can imagine those columns and statues must look very different.
Completely. You've got these towering structures, maybe especially thinking of the great hypostyle hall, which must be incredibly dramatic when lit up. Statues bathed in light. It creates a very different, powerful atmosphere compared to the daytime visit.
So the lighting itself is a major part of the draw. It changes how you perceive this space.
Definitely. And during the show, you're not just static, you actually walk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you follow illuminated pathways moving among the colossal stones, the pillars, the statues. It's a guided journey through the site itself.
So you're immersed in it.
Exactly. And one key part mentioned in several sources is spending some time seated by the sacred lake.
Ah, the big ritual pool within the complex.
Yes, that ancient lake. Imagine that lit up at night. It must be quite striking. The show uses, well, sophisticated lighting and audio. There's music, and then these voices, described as old voices, even the pharaohs themselves, narrating the stories, the history that's sort of embedded in the very stones around you.
So it's a narrative journey through time, essentially. What kind of stories does it focus on?
The narration covers the really dramatic history of Thebes. Ancient Thebes was the religious capital, remember, and Karnak's central role in that. Okay. It zooms in on the achievements of the pharaohs, the ones who kept expanding the temple complex over all those hundreds of years.
So you get a sense of who built what, perhaps.
It seems so. The story apparently traces the origins of Karnak Temple itself and highlights the, well, heroic deeds associated with the pharaohs and the god Amun. His importance really grew alongside Thebes.
Right.
So the show provides that background, an overview of the site's incredibly long history. Sources call it captivating, informative, and inspiring. It aims to bring the ancient stones to life through storytelling.
That historical context sounds really useful, actually, because when you visit during the day, it can be, frankly, a bit overwhelming trying to figure out which pharaoh added which bit.
It absolutely can. The sheer scale and the layering of history are immense. So this show seems designed partly to give you that narrative thread, that framework to hang the details on.
Making the daytime visit potentially more meaningful afterwards.
Potentially, yes. Or providing context beforehand. The sources suggest it might highlight specific additions, like maybe Hatshepsut's obelisks or the construction of certain halls, linking them to the rulers and the overall story.
Okay, let's shift to the practical side. If someone's thinking, yeah, I want to see this, what do they need to know? How long does it last?
Well, that's interesting because the sources aren't perfectly consistent. Some say about an hour, maybe up to 90 minutes.
Okay.
Others mention an immersive 2-hour experience. So it's probably smart to budget for, say, at least 90 minutes, maybe a bit more, just to be safe.
And language options. Important for international visitors.
Very. It is available in multiple languages.
Hmm.
Typically, the first show of the evening is in English. Then there's often a second show. And the language for that one rotates. Could be German, Italian, French, Spanish, depending on the night.
How do you get the other languages?
Yeah.
Headphones.
Yeah, the multilingual audio is usually provided via earphones or portable radio sets. But there's a small caveat.
Oh.
One specific traveler mentioned having trouble getting hold of the portable radios for the non-English audio. So while it's offered, the practical execution might occasionally have a hiccup. Something to be aware of.
Good point. What about accessibility? Karnak is ancient, but is the show manageable for everyone?
The information suggests it is pretty accessible, actually. They mention wheelchair-friendly paths.
That's good.
Strollers are okay, service animals are allowed, and even things like infant seats are available. So they seem to have made an effort there.
Any other tips, like arriving early or food and drink?
Definitely arrive early, maybe 30 minutes before showtime is recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And no food or drinks are sold on site, apparently. So
Yeah.
bring your own water or whatever you might need.
Bags. Photos.
Small bags are generally okay, but leave large backpacks at the hotel. Photos and videos seem to be usually allowed, which is great. But check about flash photography, probably best avoided, given the lighting effects. It could ruin the atmosphere for others.
Makes sense. Okay, so we have this incredible setting, the show using light and sound to tell its story at night, and the practical bits. But what's the verdict on value? Do people generally think it's worth it?
The sources give us a bit of a mixed picture, which is often the case, isn't it?
Sure, yeah.
Many find it really valuable. They stress the benefit of getting that historical background, especially for a place as complex as Karnak. It helps make sense of it all.
Like a primer before you explore in daylight.
Exactly, or a way to consolidate what you saw. It offers a unique spectacle. Seeing the temple columns and statues lit dramatically is undeniably different. You literally see the temple in a different light.
But you said mixed picture.
Right. Not everyone loves the modern approach.
Right.
One source we looked at described it as potentially feeling a bit tacky.
Like too much modern tech interfering with the ancient vibe.
Sort of, yeah. This particular viewpoint expressed a preference for seeing the temple, maybe as the ancients did, perhaps just with simple torches, rather than sophisticated colored lights and recorded narration.
It's that tension, isn't it? Between historical authenticity, or what we imagine that to be, and modern presentation.
It really is a different way of connecting with the past. But it's worth saying, despite that kind of critique and the occasional headphone issue,
Yeah.
the show generally gets high ratings. Travelers often praise the overall production, the atmosphere it creates, and the narration itself. It seems for many people that combination really works.
And as you walk through, does the show specifically focus your attention on certain monuments or areas?
It seems logical that it would, yes. Since you're moving through the space, the sources mention the Avenue of Sphinxes, that grand entranceway, as part of setting the scene. The Great Temple of Amun is obviously central, and that incredible hypostyle hall with its forest of giant columns, surely that gets some dramatic lighting treatment.
Has to, right?
You'd think so. And we know you sit by the sacred lake for part of it, so that's definitely highlighted. Plus, the narration talks about specific pharaohs and gods, like Amun, Mut, Khonsu.
So it would naturally draw your eye to the parts of the temple associated with them.
Exactly, connecting the stories to the actual structures you're seeing illuminated around you.
So wrapping this up then, what's the overall picture?
Well, the Karnak Sound and Light Show offers a very specific experience. It's Karnak, but through a nighttime theatrical lens.
Using modern tech to try and condense centuries of history and immense scale into a narrative you can follow.
Precisely. It takes that vastness and complexity and tries to weave it into a story using light and sound.
And it's obviously not how the ancient Egyptians saw their sacred spaces.
Clearly not. But the sources suggest that, for many modern visitors, it can be a really captivating way to engage with the site. It provides context, highlights key features dramatically.
And maybe helps make sense of the sheer grandeur you encounter in the daylight.
It could well do that. It really prompts you to think about how we engage with ancient history today, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is it purely about quiet contemplation among the ruins?
Or can these modern storytelling techniques actually enhance our understanding, maybe spark a different kind of appreciation or connection?
Interesting question. Either way, experiencing Karnak, whether under the bright sun or under the stars with this show, sounds like encountering something truly vast and deeply significant.
Absolutely. A brush with something immense from the ancient world.